Premier.
Much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. And Mr. Speaker, I'm so pleased to rise and speak to this House today as we continue to celebrate International Women's Day. I want to take this time to acknowledge the accomplishments of women and the progress that we've made advancing gender equality here in Ontario. Je veux prendre le temps de reconnaître les réalisations des femmes et le progrès que nous avons fait envers l'égalité des sexes en Ontario. But before I do, I want to go back to the first International Women's Day. In 1910, at the International Conference of Working Women, a German woman named Clara Zetkin put forward the idea of an International Day for Women. Her idea was that every year in every country there should be a day for women to advocate for each other. According to the United Nations, Clara's idea was endorsed by over 100 women from 17 countries who were attending the conference. A year later, the first International Women's Day was held in 1911 on March 19th. More than 1 million women and men participated in rallies campaigning for women's right to work, to hold public office, and to vote. And so today, every year on March 8th, thousands of events are held throughout the world to inspire women and celebrate our achievements and build momentum for the work that we need to do to increase gender equality here in Ontario and all around the world. Because we all know that more work needs to be done. More work needs to be done because in 2015, there are still too many women who are told their options don't count. There are still too many women who are intimidated, marginalized, and discounted for the simple fact that they're women. They're told that they have no real influence. They're told that they will never achieve their goals. And they're told that they will never be equal. And so more work needs to be done to build a better world for women and build a fairer, more equal society for all. Because I believe, Mr. Speaker, that those two go hand in hand. As a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, and as the first female Premier of Ontario, I'm committed to doing more. En tant que femme, mère, grand-mère, et en tant que la première femme Première ministre de l'Ontario, je me suis engagée à faire plus. Because when you empower women, you address issues that disproportionately affect women, you will strengthen and build up society so it becomes more fair and inclusive for everyone. I'm very proud to see the efforts reflected in Ontario. I'm proud that we have the most women elected to this legislature than any time in our history. 38 women, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud personally to have 7 women around the cabinet table and 12 more women in our caucus. And I'm proud of the efforts that our government continues to make. Our government has brought in wage increases for early childhood educators and personal support workers, the majority of whom are women. We've increased the minimum wage to $11 an hour and indexed it to inflation, helping low-income women who are the majority of minimum wage earners in Ontario. We're also supporting parents through Ontario's full-day kindergarten program. In September 2014, full-day kindergarten was fully implemented and is now benefiting approximately 265,000 children across Ontario. Since 2003-2004, we've increased the capacity of licensed center-based childcare programs by 57%, and we've increased the Ontario Child Benefit to a maximum of $1,310 per child per year. Through the poverty reduction strategy, the child poverty rate in single mother-led families in Ontario has dropped from 43% to 36%. The Ontario Women's Directorate is providing low-income women with the training that they need to get better-paying jobs. And the Microlending for Women in Ontario program is helping low-income women build and grow their businesses. Women make up an integral part of Ontario's economy and society, but on average, they still do not earn as much as men, which is why our government is committed to leading the development of a wage gap strategy. Recently, Ontario became the first jurisdiction in Canada to require companies listed on the TSX to report publicly on their approach to increasing the number of women on their boards, because that glass ceiling may be cracking, but it is still in place, Mr. Speaker. And we'll continue to call on the federal government to take meaningful action to address the issue of missing and murdered Aboriginal women and girls. I want to acknowledge the important work that's being done by the Minister responsible for women's issues, who is at the United Nations today as part of the Canadian delegation on the status of women. Exactly. I also want to acknowledge the member from Halliburton, Kawartha Lakes, Brock, and the leader of the third party, both for their work advancing Ontario's Select Committee on Sexual Violence and Harassment. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. And Mr. Speaker, last Friday our government launched It's Never Okay, an action plan to stop sexual violence and harassment. The plan will raise public awareness of sexual violence and harassment in Ontario. It will help survivors so that they're better supported when they reach out for the help that they need. It will strengthen our laws to help ensure that workplaces are free from sexual violence and harassment. Above all, it will challenge the deep-rooted attitudes and behaviours that contribute to sexual violence and harassment in the first place. And I'm talking, Mr. Speaker, about misogyny and about how it is never okay. This year's theme for International Women's Day is Make It Happen. And I believe that as a government, we are taking this call to action to heart. We are taking a different approach to government. Je me suis engagée à adopter une nouvelle approche de gouvernance et une partie de cela est grâce à la perspective que j'apporte en tant que la première femme Première ministre de l'Ontario. It's a perspective that's focused on people investing in their skills, their ideas, their capacity for greatness. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I want to quote from Nellie McClung, woman in politics and a personal hero of mine, and she said, and I quote, "The women who have achieved success in the various fields of labour have won the victory for us, but unless we all follow up and press onward, the advantage will be lost. Yesterday's success will not do for today," unquote. Though those words were spoken 100 years ago, I believe that they're still important, Mr. Speaker. They remind us how far we've come as women, and they remind us that we have more to do in order to create that fair and equal society that we know is possible here in Ontario. Thank you very much. Merci.